الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. Today is Sunday, 13 Jumada al-Ula, 1445, corresponding to November 26, 2023. Today, inshallah, we'll explain page 373, chapter 26, Sourat Ashouaara. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كذبت ثمود المرسلين إذ قال لهم أخوهم صالح ألا تتقون إني لكم رسول أمين فاتقوا الله وأطيعون وما أسألكم عليه من أجر إن أجري إلا على رب العالمين. The tribe of Thamud denied the messengers. Again, as we said before, denying one messenger means denying all the messengers, because all the messengers, their common call to the creed is to worship Allah alone with no partners. So they denied their messengers when their brother Salih, their prophet, said to them, will you not have taqwa? I am a trustworthy messenger to you, so have taqwa of Allah and obey me. No reward do I ask of you for it. My reward is only from the Lord of Al-Alameen. Salih and the people of Thamud. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about his servant and messenger Salih, whom he sent to his people Thamud. Who were Thamud? They were Arabs living in the city of Al-Hijr, which is between Wadi al-Qura and Greater Syria. It's actually in today's Saudi Arabia. Their location is well known. And the Prophet ﷺ passed by this town on his way to the Battle of Tabuk. He passed by the dwelling of Thamud, and people used the water from their wells to cook. So he ﷺ said, you should not use the water or the utensils from those destroyed people, lest whatever destruction happened to them would happen to you. And he ﷺ further said that do not enter these towns that were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except crying or making yourself cry out of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and humbleness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is unlike what they're doing in Saudi Arabia today. They're bringing the evil singers to have musical festivals in these destroyed towns, disbelieving in what the Prophet ﷺ said, and therefore we expect for them to be destroyed the same way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed the people of Thamud. So he ﷺ went as far as Tabuk. When he went back to Al-Medina to prepare himself for the campaign, in other words, he went as far as Tabuk. The Romans were scared. Again, that was the empire of the time, and they were scared of the Messenger ﷺ and the thousands that were with him. And because he ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strikes fear in the heart of the enemies of the believers 1 month's journey. In other words, a month before the Muslim armies, the believing armies reach the enemies are too scared of the Muslims. And that's why those government scholars, so-called scholars, are not really scholars, they are government parrots that repeat whatever their evil leaders tell them to say. They speak about the Mujahideen in Palestine, saying that they are too weak to wage war on the Jews. Why? Because their leaders are in submission to the Jews and to the kuffar, the Christians, be them America or Britain or France. So we always have to go back to the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ to understand what is right, what is wrong. He ﷺ, his army was not as advanced, did not have the hundreds of thousands of soldiers that the Romans had, but the Romans were going to attack Medina. So he ﷺ undertook the journey to go and fight them in their own homes. When they got to Tabuk, Allah threw fear in their hearts, and they did not wage war against the Muslims. And then the Prophet ﷺ went back to Medina to prepare himself for another incursion into the land of the biggest empire at the time. But he, alayhi salam, died before doing that. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, his Khalifa, undertook this campaign, and he made Usama bin Zayd, who was 18 years old, as the leader of the Muslim armies, because this is who the Muslim youth should be. They should be leaders in jihad, they should be leaders in da'wah, they should be leaders in scholarship, not be leaders in music, in dancing, in alcohol, in zina, under the excuse that they are still young and they have to live their lives. This is the biggest lie that the Jews propagated among the Muslims so that they can destroy their youth, because they are afraid of the Muslims. And of course, what we see today in the whole world, whether they call it secularism or democracy or anything, as the scholar said, this is nothing but turning the whole world into the behavior of the Jews, the evil behaviors of the Jews, which is zina, interest, injustice, and so on and so forth. Look only at Europe, what happened to them. About 100 years ago, the European woman would cover all of her body, even her neck, she would cover it, she would cover her head, because this is fitra, plus this is in their religion. But the Jews infiltrated them like a virus and destroyed them from within, so that they, the Jews, can rule over the Christians through this method called democracy, because the person that has money is the one that can rule the people in democracy. And the Jews are known to have money because throughout history, they were banned from purchasing land. So all of their money was in trade and in gold. So they concocted this way of governance they call democracy, so that they can rule over the people, or either directly or indirectly. So we have governors, for example, in the US, who were Jews, and we have other Christian presidents, so all the Christian presidents are supported by the Jews financially and through the media, and if anyone goes against them, they will break his reputation and remove him from the leadership, as they did to many famous people that decided to speak the truth. So back to here, so the Prophet ﷺ waged war against the biggest empire. So those parrots, I call them parrots of their evil leaders, that say that Hamas are too weak to wage war against the Jews, and that because of what the actions of Hamas did, the Palestinians are dying. We tell them, examine the seerah and examine history. If you look at all the Muslim countries that were invaded by the kuffar and gained their independence, they did not gain their independence as this misguided caller in Saudi Arabia who's telling Abu Ubaidah, fight the kuffar through the sunan, teach your women Quran. Of course, we teach Quran, we teach sunnah, but then the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to wage war with the sword. It's also the sunnah of Isa alayhi salam, as it says in the Bible. I come with the sword. This is what Isa alayhi salam said. And when he comes back to this earth, he's going to rule according to Sharia Muhammad alayhi salam. He's going to kill all the Jews, he's going to kill the Dajjal. He's not going to sit there and recite anything. So this person who's telling this person, tell Abu Ubaidah, teach your women Quran, we tell him, you teach your women Quran so that they don't go to the musical festivals of evil that are happening in Riyadh. Speak about your own country, speak about the evil that's happening there, instead of speaking ill about the Mujahideen and trying to put down their efforts in waging jihad for the sake of Allah, in accordance to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that said that there's always going to be a portion of this ummah waging jihad on the truth around Bayt al-Maqdis, and anyone who betrays them will not harm them. So he ﷺ told us that most people will end up betraying that Ta'if al-Mansura, the people who are waging jihad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's given him victory. So he ﷺ waged war against the Roman Empire. So who can say that the Mujahideen in Palestine don't have enough weapon and might to wage war against the Jews? They destroyed the Jews. So the Americans sent their own Delta forces, their own generals. Italians sent their soldiers. Why? Because the Jews were defeated. So how can you say that the Mujahideen don't have enough weapons to destroy the Jews? So these people, as we said, are parrots of their evil leaders who wish to make relationships with the Jews and make them filthy wealthy, through the so-called planned Silk Road, the new Silk Road from India to Europe, passing by Saudi Arabia, Emirates, and occupied Palestine, so that they can make the Jews wealthy. And of course, the Mujahideen, when they waged war against the Jews, they broke the plans of these evil leaders that sold their religion for a miserable worldly price. So he, alayhi salam, as we said, was not afraid to wage war, was not afraid to gain martyrdom. He fought for the sake of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him victory. So Usama bin Zayd, who was 18 years old, was the leader of the Muslim armies at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And this is how our youth should be. And of course, we parents should raise our young as such. You know, the problem really comes from us. You know, we were brainwashed by the Jews to always encourage our kids to do well in school. And we don't care about their deen. Deen is number one, should be the number one priority in their lives. And then the other worldly things should come after that. So he, alayhi salam, went as far as Tabuk, and then he went back to Medina to prepare himself for the campaign. But he, alayhi salam, died before waging that campaign, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu continued in his footsteps. Thamud came after Ad. The people of Ad that we saw, the ones that were in Yemen near Hadramaut, the city of Hadramaut, and before Ibrahim alayhi salam. Their prophet Salih, the prophet of Thamud, called Thamud to worship Allah alone with no partner or associate, because as we said, this is the aqidah of all the prophets, and to obey whatever commands were conveyed to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But of course they refused, they rejected Salih and they opposed him. He told them that he did not seek any reward from them for his call to them. In other words, he doesn't want to be their president or their leader. He doesn't want any worldly benefit, but that he would seek the reward for that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he reminded them of the blessings of Allah and that they should obey Allah so that Allah does not take away the blessings from them. And this is the same reminder that we're going to give the people of the land of Al-Haramain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with wealth, gold, oil, water, many other things. But you are disobeying your Lord instead of thanking him. And you know the sunnah of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have a contract with any human being that Allah will continue giving him the blessings even though that person breaks the contract. No, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the Jews in the beginning. But because they broke their contract, Allah cursed them. فَبِمَا نَقْلِهِمْ مِيثَاقَهُمْ لَعَنَّهُمْ. Because they broke their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah cursed them. Their covenant was to worship Allah alone and wage jihad for his sake. So you people of the Haramain, if today you are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly, the singers that come to Riyadh, they curse Allah openly. You know, one of these singers in her song, she's saying, "Oh Allah, send your messengers to stop me." So this is, you know, she's challenging Allah. So subhanallah, Allah stopped her. Her pants ripped. Her pants ripped on stage. So she had to sit down so that she doesn't show her awra. And then they stopped the musical. So there you go. Allah stopped you. No need for the messengers. Just your pants ripped. This is last year. And this year, they're having on stage a woman singing inside the hologram of the Kaaba. And then here is the Masonic eye that comes and breaks this woman loose from the chains of the Kaaba. So basically what they're telling the Saudi women, that Islam is putting chains on you because it's not allowing you to become objects of zina, because Islam is not allowing you, O Saudi women, to show your body for free and become like the animal, like the dog, like the female dog that shows her body for free. And they're telling you that the Freemasons are the ones who are going to break you loose from the chains that Islam put on you. So they're going to take off the chains that benefit you to the chains that enslave you. You will become slave girls to the kuffar. They will come to your country, just like they do into other Muslim countries, for they will come to your country for tourism. And you women are part of this tourism. They will visit your bodies for free, the same way they're doing it today in many other Muslim countries. If you just want to know the evil impact of what you are heading to, just look at some countries, Muslim countries today in the west of the Islamic land. The kuffar, they come to some Muslim countries for sexual tourism, not only in women and girls, even in boys. Even in boys. So you call this freedom? This is freedom of shaitan in your bodies. So, O women of the land of the Haramain, and before them, O men of the land of the Haramain, do you want your girl to be a sex object of the kuffar coming to her, having sex with her, filming her, going back to Europe and laughing about you, after you being the nephews of the Mujahideen and the nephews of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab? Is this what this sheikh fought for in the land of Saudi Arabia? Is this why he fought Sharif Hussein? Is this why he fought the occupiers and took away the graves that were worshipped besides Allah in Saudi Arabia, so that you can come and give your women for free to the kuffar? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy every single person that is calling to that and who is helping it, and also those so-called callers to Islam who are singing to the tune of their evil leader and saying that this is not haram. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to turn them into pigs and monkeys, as the Prophet ﷺ told us. So, O people of the land of the Haramain, Thamud were in your land. They are in Hijr, north of Medina. Go to their places and cry out of fear, because what happened to them will happen to you if you continue on your injustice. وَمَا هِيَ مِنَ الظَّلْمِ بَعِيدٍ. Allah's punishment is always near the people that do injustice. Thamud, as we will see, they were people that were very strong. They were very meticulous in their architecture. They built huge castles in mountains. You go look at them today. These are things that we cannot do with our hands today. Perhaps maybe with the machines we can get close to that. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them because they did not thank the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is out of love for the land of the Haramain. We love it because of the Haramain. We don't love it because of the evil in it. We don't love it because of the unjust people who rule it and who want to put their filthy hands in the filthy hands of the Jews. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove them from that position of power. And because they sold their religion for dunya, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to never allow them to gain the dunya that they sold their religion for. Ameen. So Nabiullah Saleh, the Prophet Saleh, asked his people in the Hijr about the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they should obey Allah so that these bounties can remain with them. He told them, as Allah told us in the Quran, أَتُتْرَكُونَ فِي مَا هُنَا آمِنِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ وَزُرُوعٍ وَنَخْلٍ طَلْعُهَا هَضِيمٌ وتنحتون من الجبال بيوتا فارهين فاتقوا الله وأطيعون ولا تطيعوا أمر المسرفين الذين يفسدون في الأرض ولا يصلحون. So the Prophet Saleh alayhi salam told his people, will you be left secure in that which you have here, all these blessings that Allah gave you in gardens and springs? Will you be left secure? You think Allah will not destroy you because of your evil? And crops and date palms with soft clusters, everything that a person wishes for. And you carve out in the mountains houses with great skills that Allah taught you. So have taqwa of Allah and obey me. Worship Allah alone. Stay away from evil. And do not follow the command of the extravagant people that want this dunya. You will be destroyed because of them and because you obeyed them. These extravagant who make mischief in the land and do not reform. A reminder to the people of Thamud of their circumstances and the blessings they enjoyed. Salih preached to them, warning them that the punishment of Allah could overtake them. And he reminded them of the blessings that Allah had bestowed upon them by giving them ample provision, making them safe from all kinds of dangers, giving them gardens and flowing springs, and bringing forth for them crops and fruits. And date palms with soft clusters. Al-Awfi narrated from Ibn Abbas that these palms were ripe and rich. Ali ibn Abi Talha narrated from Ibn Abbas that this meant growing luxuriantly. Ismail ibn Abi Khalid, narrated from Amr ibn Abi Amr, who met the companions from Ibn Abbas, that this means when it becomes ripe and soft. This is narrated by Ibn Abi Hatim. Then he said, and something similar was narrated from Abu Salih. So palms with soft clusters. وَتَنْحِتُونَ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا فَارِهِينَ. And you hew out in the mountains houses with great skills. Ibn Abbas and others said with great skill. Allah taught them this great skill. According to a report from him, they were greedy and extravagant. This is the view from Mujahid and another group. There is no contradiction between two views, because they built the houses which they carved in the mountains as a form of extravagant play. They did not need them as dwelling places, just like the castles that we see built today in those land of Haramain. They were highly skilled in the arts of masonry and stone carving, as is well known to anyone who has seen their structures. You can see the pictures of these structures on the internet. But of course, remind yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mighty and strong, and try to cry because of the evil abode that these people went to because of their disbelief. So Salih said to his people, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُونَ. So have taqwa of Allah and obey me. Pay attention to that which could benefit you in this world and the hereafter. Worshiping your Lord who created you, who granted you provisions so that you could worship Him alone and glorify Him morning and evening. ولا تطيعوا أمر المسرفين الذين يفسدون في الأرض ولا يصلحون. And do not follow the command of the extravagant who make mischief in the land and do not reform, religiously speaking. Meaning the chiefs and leaders of Thamud called them to shirk, disbelief, and opposition to the truth. This is the same way the leaders in the land of Haramain today do. So we tell people, do not follow them, lest you be destroyed with them. Their destruction is imminent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let them do mischief in the land of the Haramain without punishment, because the land of the Haramain is not like any other Muslim land. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hajj, وَمَن يُرِدْ فِيهِ بِإِلْحَادٍ بِظُلْمٍ نُذِقْهُ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. So Allah is speaking here about the Kaaba, but of course it means Mecca and also the blessed land in general. Anyone that wants to commit mischief in it, Allah will make him taste the severest punishment. So people should not follow their leaders in evil. This is not ta'at waliyul amr. إِنَّمَا الطَّاعَةُ فِي الْمَعْرُوفِ, as the Prophet ﷺ said. We don't obey the leader in evil. We only obey him in that which is halal. Next, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the answer of the people of Thamud to Salih alayhi salam. They said, قالوا إنما أنت من المسحرين ما أنت إلا بشر مثلنا فأت بآية إن كنت من الصادقين قال هذه ناقة لها شرب ولكم شرب يوم معلوم ولا تمسوها بسوء فيأخذكم عذاب يوم عظيم فعقروها فأصبحوا نادمين فأخذهم العذاب إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين وإن ربك لهو العزيز الرحيم. They said, the people of Thamud told their prophet Salih, you are only of those bewitched. In other words, magic touched you and that's why you're saying that you're crazy. You are only a human being like us. Then bring us a sign if you are really telling the truth that you are a messenger of Allah. He, Salih alayhi salam, said, here is a she-camel. It has a right to drink water and you have a right to drink water each on a day known. So one day you drink from the well, one day she drinks from the well. This is the she-camel, the miracle that you ask me to produce for you. And do not touch her with harm, lest the torment of a great day should seize you. But they killed her, and then they became regretful. So the torment overtook them. Verily, in this indeed is a sign. Yes, yet most of them are not believers. And verily your Lord, He is indeed the Almighty, the most merciful. Allah destroys the unjust people in every time, in every nation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow injustice for so long. The response of Thamud, their demand for a sign and their punishment. Allah tells us how Thamud responded to their prophet Salih, upon him be peace, when he called them to worship their Lord, may he be glorified. قالوا إنما أنت من المسحرين. They said you are only of those bewitched. Mujahid said they meant that he was one affected by magic, by witchcraft. Then they said you are except you're only a human being like us. مَا أَنْتَ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا. Meaning, how can you receive revelation when we do not receive revelation? You know, you are a human being like us, so if you receive revelation, we should receive revelation too. So this is the illogical argument they made. And this is like the ayah where they are described as saying, is it that the reminder, the message is sent to him alone from among us? In other words, why aren't all of us being sent the same message? They say, no, he's an insolent liar. Tomorrow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises them tomorrow they will come to know who is the liar, the insolent one. ألقي الذكر عليه من بيننا بل هو كذاب أشر سيعلمون غدا من الكذاب الأشر. Then they asked him for a sign to prove that what he brought to them from their Lord was the truth. A crowd of them gathered and demanded that he immediately bring forth from the rock a she-camel that was 10 months pregnant. So of course, they said, bring us a miracle. He told them, okay, what's the miracle? So they started thinking of something impossible to happen. So they looked at a rock and they said, okay, we want you to turn this rock, or from it, bring us a she-camel, which is red in color, and 10 months pregnant. So, you know, they're trying, and they're laughing every time they add a condition, they laugh, because in their minds, this is impossible to produce. It's impossible to do this for human beings, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is able to do that. So Prophet Salih alayhi salam made them promise that if he responded to their request, they should believe in him and follow him. So of course, thinking that it's impossible for him to produce that, they agreed to that. You know, they wanted him to be unable to do that and laugh at him. So they said, okay, we'll follow you if you produce the miracle. So Prophet Salih alayhi salam stood and prayed and made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he made dua to Allah. So those Sufi sheikhs that come and tell you that I do, you tell them, if prophets make dua to Allah, you tell us that you are better than these prophets. So these misguide their people. So he prayed to Allah to grant them their request so that they can believe in him. Then effectively the rock to which they had pointed split open, revealing a she-camel that was 10 months pregnant, exactly as they had requested. So of course some of them believed because they saw the truth with their eyes, but most of them disbelieved out of arrogance and out of denial. So here is the she-camel. In other words, it's not, here is a camel and that's it, it disappears, because they will say, oh, it's just magic. No, he said, this she-camel, here she is. She became one of us. She's gonna drink water from the well one day because she was huge. She would drink all of the water from the well. And the following day, the people would drink the water from the well and they would milk her. The day that she would use the well, they would milk her to use her milk. So she had so much milk. Following day, they would drink their water and save the water for the following day. And so on and so forth. So one day for the camel and one day for them. That's why he says here is she-camel. She has the right to drink water one day and you have the right to drink water the other day. So meaning she will drink from your water one day and on the next day will drink from the water. And in addition to that, do not touch her with harm, lest the torment of a great day should seize you. وَلَا تَمَسُّوهَا بِسُوءٍ فَيَأْخُذَكُمْ عَذَابُ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ. So he warned them of the punishment of Allah if they should do her any harm. So the she-camel stayed among them for a while, drinking the water, eating leaves and grazing, and they used her milk. They benefited from her milk, which they took in sufficient quantities for everyone to drink his fill. So she was a huge camel and her milk was enough for the whole tribe. After this had gone for a while and the time for their destruction drew near, you know, Shaitan doesn't want them to remain like that. They conspired to kill the camel under different excuses. Oh, you know, she's causing us pain because we cannot drink from the well one day, etc., etc. And we'll see the story of how women were part of this conspiracy and how the 9 evil ones were the ones to kill the camel, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَانَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ تِسْعَةُ رَهْطٍ يُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا يُصْلِحُونَ. There were in the town 9 people that used to commit evil, and they are the ones that killed the camel, the she-camel, but with the consent of the rest of the tribe. So therefore, all of the tribe was destroyed, because even though they did not kill the camel with their own hands, they condoned the killing of the camel. And that's why those that condone the killing of the mujahideen, they are also partaking in the sin with the Jews who are killing the mujahideen. So this has to be very clear. فعقروها فأصبحوا نادمين فأخذهم العذاب. But they killed her, and then they became regretful, because they finally realized that Allah's punishment is going to overtake them. Their faces was changing colors day by day, because their prophet told them, enjoy your houses for 3 days. After those 3 days, you will be destroyed. So the punishment, many punishments undertook them. Their land was shaken by a strong earthquake, so they had to fall on their knees, the same way they made the she-camel fall on her knee when they were killing her. And then there came to them an overwhelming shout, sayha. Jibreel alayhi salam shouted one shout that took their hearts from their places. And also there were 3 punishments. We will see their story in detail in a little while in an article in Islam Web. And they were overtaken by events which they were not expecting, so they were left dead, lying prostrate in their homes. And of course, verily in this, the punishment to these evil people that did not thank Allah's bounties and instead disobeyed Him, indeed is a sign, yet most of them are not believers. Most of them are not believers. People of Thamud, they're within a land that today is fighting against Allah and against the Mujahideen and against the truth. And yet most of these people are not believers. And verily your Lord, He is indeed the Almighty. His punishment, the same way He destroyed the people of old, He will be able to destroy the people of the latter days. Yet He is also the most merciful. So we will see the share the article in Islam Web.